You've been feeling off, but nothing shows up in tests. This immediately taps into a universal fear and mystery, unexplained spiritual or physical suffering. It wasn't the kind of war you could see coming. No tanks rolled down the streets. No planes darkened the skies. But something heavier than bombs had settled on the city, a silence too loud to ignore, pressing against hearts like a weight no one could name. You could feel it in the way people spoke in hushed tones, how eyes darted without reason, and laughter died halfway through a sentence. This wasn't about land or power. This was soul deep, a kind of darkness that crawled under your skin and whispered lies in your own voice. It crept into churches and homes alike, replacing conviction with confusion, turning belief into brittle echoes. People still walked, talked, worked, but something in them was hollowing out. A fatigue that had nothing to do with sleep dragged them down. And the worst part? Most didn't even realize they were under attack. It was subtle, slow, like rot beneath fresh paint. The enemy didn't need guns. It only needed time. It sowed doubt like seeds, questions with no roots, fears with no faces. What if you're wrong, it would say. What if you're alone? The more it whispered, the more people withdrew. Friends stopped calling. Prayers grew mechanical. Hope, once a steady flame, flickered low. And still, life carried on the outside. But underneath, something sacred was breaking. You could feel it if you were still long enough. A tension in the air, a spiritual war unfolding in silence. And those who sensed it, who felt the ground trembling beneath the surface, they knew. This was no ordinary storm. This was a call to wake up, to stand firm, to fight back not with fists, but with faith. Because if the heart fell, everything else would follow. And somewhere deep inside, a voice rose up. Not a shout, but a whisper with fire behind it. You were born for this. It wasn't a battle of swords or bullets. It was deeper, more deceptive. A war on the soul. The prophet warned us. There will come a time when holding onto your religion will be like holding onto hot coals. Tirmidhi. That time felt near. People still prayed, fasted, smiled. But something inside was unraveling. Doubts took root where certainty once stood. The whispers of Shaitan, did Allah really say that? Echoed louder than the truth. Just as Allah warns in the Qur'an, indeed, Shaitan is an enemy to you, so take him as an enemy. He only invites his party to be among the companions of the blaze. Surah Fatir 35:6. It wasn't just individuals faltering, it was families, communities. Qur'anic words became background noise, not lifelines. And slowly, hearts hardened. As Allah says, then your hearts became hardened after that, being like stones or even harder. Surah Al-Baqarah 274. Yet the signs were all there. The decline in remembrance, the rise in anxiety, the loss of purpose. This wasn't a coincidence, it was a spiritual siege. And the Prophet told us the cure. Verily, in the body is a piece of flesh which, if it is sound, the whole body is sound. It is the heart. Bukhari and Muslim. This war couldn't be fought by force. It required repentance, remembrance, sincerity. It needed the shield Allah described. Indeed, the remembrance of Allah is the greatest thing. Surah Al-Ankabut 29:45. To survive this unseen assault, we needed to return to sujud, to Qur'an, to dhikr, to dua, not as rituals, but as resistance. For as long as hearts are alive with faith, darkness cannot win. So do not weaken and do not grieve, and you will be superior if you are true believers. Surah Al-Imran 3:139. The storm was here, yes, but so was the shelter, in Him. You scroll past another Instagram reel, motivational quotes, filtered, sunsets, a reminder to protect your peace. Yet your soul feels heavy, not from what you've seen, but from what you've forgotten. You used to wake up for Fajr, Now you wake up to notifications. The Prophet said, "The most burdensome prayers for the hypocrites are Fajr and Isha," Bukhari, Muslim. But now, it's not hypocrisy. It's exhaustion, distraction, spiritual drift. And that's exactly how the attack begins. Not with an open denial of faith, but with a slow fade. You still believe, but the Quran collects dust. You still say you love Allah, but the du'as are rushed if said at all. Allah warns us in the Quran, "And do not obey the one whose heart we have made heedless of our remembrance, who follows his desire, and whose affair is ever in neglect." Surah Al-Kahf 18:28. Heedlessness doesn't scream, it whispers. 1. Missed prayer. 1 unrepented sin. 1 too many hours binge-watching while the heart grows numb. And then comes doubt, anxiety. A hollow feeling no amount of likes or self-care routines can fix. Because the heart wasn't created for dopamine, it was created for dhikr. The Prophet said, "The example of the one who remembers Allah and the one who does not is like the living and the dead," Bukhari. Yet how many of us walk through our days like the spiritually dead, plugged in but tuned out? But even now, the door is open. You could silence the noise, log out, turn back. Allah promises, "Indeed, in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest." Surah Ar-Ra'd 13:28. You don't need to be perfect, you need to be sincere. Start again. Wake for Fajr, even if groggy. Open the Quran, even if one ayah. Post less, pray more. Because this isn't just distraction, it's war. And in a war for the soul, your shield is sujud. Your weapon is dhikr. Your victory, still possible. And whoever relies upon Allah, then He is sufficient for him. Surah At-Talaq 65:3. Don't scroll past this. Don't save it for later. Later might never come. This isn't just a reminder, it's a warning. You're not being attacked through headlines or protests. It's in your feed, your silence, your tiredness when it's time for Fajr. This is a spiritual war, and it's happening in plain sight. Allah said, "Shaitan is an enemy to you, so take him as an enemy." Surah Fatir 35:6. But we've made peace with his whispers. We say just 5 more minutes when the adhan plays. We skip one prayer thinking we'll make it up later. We binge watch until 2 a.m. but say we're too tired to pray. And slowly, day by day, we're not just distracted, we're drifting. The Prophet said, "The difference between us and them, the disbelievers, is the prayer. Whoever leaves it has disbelieved." Tirmidhi. That's not extreme, it's truth. We treat prayer like a chore, dhikr like a burden, and then wonder why we feel empty. But here's the part Shaitan doesn't want you to know. It's not too late. Not yet. Allah says, "Say, O my servants who have transgressed against themselves, do not despair of the mercy of Allah. Indeed, Allah forgives all sins." Surah Az-Zumar 39:53. You can still turn around. You can still win this war. But you have to move now. Don't wait until Ramadan, until the weekend, until you're feeling it. Do it even when your heart feels cold, especially then. Because the Prophet told us, "Whoever draws near to me a hand's span, I draw near to him an arm's length." Bukhari, Muslim. Allah is close, but you have to take the first step. So don't scroll, don't wait, stand up, make wudu, pray, talk to him. Cry if you need to, whisper if you can't shout, just move. This is your soul we're talking about, and it's worth fighting for.